person all U.S.-Africa relations and his recent trip to South Africa, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The second in-person visit to Sub-Saharan Africa as Secretary of State. Before I turn the mic over to the Secretary to share some more specifics on his visit, I'd like to say a few words to all of you here today. At the Department of State, we often mention the important role that youth plays in making positive change in their communities and countries. We often cite Africa's demographics by 2025, more than half the population of Africa will be under the age of 25. By the year 2050, 1 in 4 people on Earth will be African. These figures remind us how important it is for young people to be engaged, prepared, and lead, and how important Africa is to the rest of the world and to the United States. We've invited you all here today because the work you do embodies the ideals we all share. We wanted to hear from you as participants in the Young African Leaders Initiative, Mandela Washington Fellowship, or other U.S. government-funded exchanges, building professional capacity, as well as those of you from the diaspora with deep connections to Africa, and encourage a productive and interactive exchange. What are your priorities for our shared future? What should we be focused on? What are we doing well? What can we do better? We need to hear those questions to our Secretary. It's my pleasure to introduce the 71st Secretary of State, Secretary Blinken, who's helped to shape U.S. foreign policy for over 3 decades and in 3 presidential administrations. He served as Deputy Secretary of State under President Barack Obama from 2015 to 17, and before that was President Obama's Principal Deputy National Security Advisor. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership every day in the African Affairs Bureau. And I'm also joined by our Undersecretary of Diplomacy, Rizal. And look, it's pretty simple. We just had this wonderful trip, and I didn't want it to end. So we found a way to sort of continue today, and I'm really grateful to each and every one of you for coming out. Herb, by the way, who doesn't look it unless you consider that we had a grade school program, has actually been in this line of work for 27 years. So, talking to all of you. And in effect, these partnerships are actually going to be driven by you, whether you wind up or are in government, whether you're in civil society, whether you're in business, whether you're in academia, whatever the case may be, the arts, you're at the heart of the kind of partnerships that we hope to build. In particular, we have here, as Herb said, folks from the diaspora and Mandela Fellows, something I'm very excited about. You are, as a result, already, in fact, building the partnerships that we're trying to build. Let me just say a couple of quick words about the extraordinary power of the fellowship program. Since President Obama launched the fellowship program, over 5,800 rising leaders from Sub-Saharan Africa have actually taken part. That's remarkable in just a few short years. But what's even more remarkable, because I've had a chance to talk to a number of you over the years, including most recently on this trip, is that I think the Mandelaship does a couple of very powerful things. One is that it actually allows you to create networks that will endure long after your fellowship. And I think we're going to power change far into the future. I met some alums in South Africa this past trip. Fellows are tackling issues like getting more girls into STEM, just to cite one example. But what is fundamental to the fellowship is that it goes both ways. Ideas, innovations are flowing in both directions. That's true of the fellows who are here on you today. You actually managed to enrich our college campuses and the universities, even as you studied them. So American students who were there got as much, if not more, out of this, I would say, than you did. And it's also true of members of the diaspora community who are with us today. You're doing work that bridges our countries, our cultures, our communities, the arts, public health, education, human rights, democracy. All of that is what you're doing. Last thing I wanted to share is this, because I'm mostly anxious to hear from you and have a conversation. One of the things that I hear some of the time when I'm meeting with young people is, how can the U.S. talk about the importance of democracy, which is one of the things we talked about in the strategy, when you face your own challenges here at home in the United States when it comes to democracy. Challenges that I think are visible every day. And actually, that's part of the answer. The very fact that they are visible, that you see us grappling with them every single day, that it's not pushed under the carpet. It's not pretended that these problems don't exist. We're actually confronting them openly and transparently. That is actually part of the answer. Because as long as you can do that, I think you'll come out on the right side of things. But the main point for our strategy is this. It doesn't treat democracy as an issue where Africa has problems and the United States has solutions. On the contrary, it recognizes that we all have challenges in strengthening our democracies, making sure they're resilient. And it's everything from misinformation to inequity. And we have a real stake in learning from each other. One of the things that I found over almost 30 years of being engaged in foreign policy, and so getting to travel the world in one way or another, first with President Clinton, then with President Obama, and now with President Biden, is on just about everything that we're trying to figure out, someone, somewhere, probably has. And if we could just find ways to share that information so we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel, we're going to make progress a lot faster than people can imagine. We need to draw on the best ideas. We need to draw on the best innovations, no matter where they're from. And that is the spirit of the Summit for Democracy that we initiated last year, President Biden did. And it's the spirit that will animate the Africa Leader Summit at the end of the year. And that summit is going to have a big role for young people, rising generations, and a big role for the diaspora. So stay tuned. A lot more to come in the next few months. Last point is this. This trip again underscored for me that so many issues that we now consider global priorities and that we talked about, including, for example, the interconnectedness of our health and our climate, were actually championed first in Africa by African citizens and nations. In South Africa and beyond, we heard how our respective civil rights movements have inspired and energized each other over the generations, and we still find that today. So, let me end with this. 2 requests. First, the 2023 Mandela Washington Fellowship application opens tomorrow. So, help us recruit. If you had a good experience, if this is something that's been beneficial to you, spread the word. Share it. We want to get the best of the rising generation to take part. Second, from day one, I have made it a priority to try to recruit and retain a workforce at the State Department that actually reflects the country that we represent. So, if any of you Americans here are interested in a career in foreign policy, foreign service, civil service, come on there. We need you. We want you. This is a time, it's the most exciting time, as challenging as it is to be engaged in diplomacy, because of the very reason that I cited at the outset. None of the problems that really matter can be tackled by any one country acting alone. The role of our diplomacy, the role of our diplomats, is to build that cooperation, that coordination among countries. There's never been a more important time to do it, so come on down. Let me stop talking with that because I'm really anxious to hear from you.
Hi.
My name is David Francis Effiong. I'm from Nigeria, and Secretary of State, I hope you are enjoying your meal.
Thank you.
I'm asking a question about what aspects of the United States education still needs improvement, and how would you share these improvements to Africans in a bid to build programs of national significance in their countries? You talked about collaborations, and I want to appreciate the Mandela Washington Fellowship, of which the process took me here. I've worked in about 26 states of my country in riverine migrant communities, making sure that children who are differently abled or get back to school and they have access to education. And so I also want to use this opportunity, because I have to as a Nigerian. So there is a book. This is not written by me, but because I love to talk about what my friends do back at home. This is a collection of stories of Mandela Washington Fellows in the past.
Great.
And this was written by a friend of mine, Chibuzo. He's going to be in the United States in a few weeks from now to, on a book tour. So I'm going to give this to you, and it will be an honor if you take it. Maybe I could bribe you with that to take a picture.
It's exactly what we were saying a minute ago. I'm really anxious to read this because it is about stories. It is about narratives. I'm going to really look forward to reading them. So, look, I'm not an expert in education, but I would suggest at least a couple of things in terms of our own challenges that maybe can be reflected on as people